Okay, so this week is the relaunch of Verdansk from the original Warzone, and everyone's excited to a point. I think it's another way for Call of Duty to kind of dip back into the nostalgia and get the player count up a little bit, but realistically, what I'm going to talk about today is their next year and how I think they're going to try and save the player count, not really the content of the game. With this past year, we already talked about Black Ops 6 being pretty underwhelming and something that didn't really live up to the expectations. I mean, I don't mind the game. I think it's good to a point. It has shitty maps. The content isn't really there, but from what I hear, the content isn't really there because they're saving it for this Verdansk update and the next coming launch of the next Call of Duty, which we'll get into. But first, I'm going to talk about Verdansk. I had some great memories with Verdansk, played with my brother and his friends and my friends, and to be honest, it's a good map. It's a solid map. The only thing is like, I feel like a lot of the nostalgia is going to wear off. I mean, it's kind of like the Fortnite bringing back the maps. Like, I dug in for the first month and I was like, I don't really give a shit. The first OG was kind of cool, and then it was just kind of like, whatever. Like, I don't really care. It was kind of just a nostalgic thing, and it was cool for a few hours, and then I was kind of like, whatever. And that's how I kind of feel about Verdansk. I'm gonna give it a try, but it's kind of like, whatever. Maybe they'll update it a little more, have some more POIs, but the problem is with Warzone is they keep changing the engines, and in turn, it's like the things earned on a game don't really matter. I mean, there's been Warzone 1, Warzone 2, Warzone 3, and basically, like, if they're gonna keep this engine, then there's not much they can dip into with, different movement, different stuff like that. They're kind of stuck in the Black Ops 6 movement. I mean, they can kind of change it to the Modern Warfare. I mean, it's just a lot of shit that they have to do, and it's kind of why Warzone 1 got broken in the first place. It was just a shit show. But going into something that could be exciting, but another fact that could be just a nostalgia act, is that this year's 2025, and a lot of people have kind of hinted, and Treyarch has kind of hinted that the next game could be like a Black Ops 2.5 or a Black Ops remaster. And again, I have talked about this on the channel, Ian's talked about this on the channel. Black Ops 2 is, if not the best COD, in the top 3 of CODs. And yes, while it would be cool to get a remaster of a game, that I don't see them doing a straight up remaster. And that's the shitty thing, is they did that for Modern Warfare Remastered, and it was cool, and then they dipped into supply drops too much, and I really think it just got watered down. And to be honest, at first I thought they were going to do a lot of remasters, and then they just said, the hell with that, we're just going to keep putting together the same game like Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3 again, and it's like, why? Why do I need that? They've canceled several Sledgehammer games, they've canceled a Treyarch game, which is now Black Ops 6, and they put Sledgehammer's game, which would have been this year, on the back burner until 2027, which now it's like, if it is a remaster, great. I will tune in. I love Black Ops 2. I love the maps. If they keep the maps, great. That's been the problem with Black Ops 6. I think if Black Ops 6 had good maps, it would be an enjoyable COD. I just don't play anything other than Stakeout and Nuketown, because the rest suck. And the problem is now they start adding in fun things later in the game that it's like, why don't you have this from the beginning? They're now adding in Demolition, which I've said for years that it should be in the game from the start. They're adding in Firing Range, which again, if you want to add in nostalgia maps, they should be in at the start, and then, have some other maps that are newer that can come in, and one remaster each season. But the problem is right now is if you give a Black Ops 2 remaster, and it is successful, again, great. Success, whatever. But with how successful Black Ops 2 is, and if you update this game consistently, I don't see the next COD doing well. Because Black Ops 2 is damn near a perfect COD, and with updates, it can be basically non-touchable. And that's a good thing, but a bad thing for the next year COD. I've always said that I really think it should be on a 2-year cycle, but they'll never do that. They said they were, and then they pussied out. And that's the problem with Activision. And now that Xbox owns it, we thought it was going to be better. It really has not changed, and the updates have come fewer and far between. But if Verdansk and Black Ops 2 are going to just be like nostalgia reaches, I know we've talked about this back on the channel for a while. I really think the only game anyone's getting hype over right now is GTA 6. The problem in the gaming community is there's no game that is just stuck for a while. And while you can say there's room for someone to come and be that game to stick for people, I don't see it happening anytime soon other than GTA 6. And I think it's because every single game, you know, in studio is just dipping into nostalgia. They're not dipping into anything new. They're not looking into anything new. And again, like I said, with Fortnite, it was great for a week, for me at least, in a lot of peers and friends, and then it's just like, what do you get? You get nothing. You don't. It's just what you had before, and now you're older, or you've played more games, and you just really don't give a shit about it. And that's a problem I see with games coming up. We'll talk about later on that Xbox has been rumored to have Steam for the next system, and that's going to be a hard knock for PlayStation if, you know, on the next system. PlayStation's pretty much won the last 2 console wars, and Xbox has kind of been on the back burner since Xbox 360. And so that's another thing where it can be very, very cool for Xbox, but with the games and stuff that realistically there's not good games coming out. There's not really anything new. It's all a nostalgia act. And that's, I think, the problem that a lot of people are running into, and why player bases and player data is falling off with every single game at this point. But let me know what you guys think. I just wanted to talk about this a little bit because I do feel that people, especially Call of Duty, are just going the nostalgia act. And, you know, it hasn't been good for years. And even though it has good parts in it that you can enjoy, overall, for them to get back to a good Call of Duty, they need a lot more than a nostalgia act and a lot more to draw in players on a consistent basis.